Yo, man.
This is big.
We're going big.
Like big.
Yeah. Big.
MTN Yoro yatubereye very big. Ubu duhabwa 4G y'ibihumbi bitandatu y'ukwezi. MTN tuza bundles zirangira ari uko ukoresheje megabyte zawe. Inyongera ya 3G. Ibyiza byinshi ku bakiriya ba Yolo bimena bitwa Yolo Stars. Igabanyirizwa n'impano nyinshi. Nta yindi simu card ukeneye uretse simu isumba zose. Kanda akanyenyeri 154 urwego. Go big, go yellow, be great. Woo!
Everywhere you go, MTN.
So often self-esteem can be defined relatively. We can define, personally, you can define self-esteem in one or another. So to me, I can define self-esteem as self-affirmation, self-belief, self-confidence, having that belief about you, about your ability, your capacity, and what you can do. That is self-esteem, having the inner belief, believing yourself. So many times or so often I can say that people tend to confuse self-esteem and being arrogant. Self-esteem is totally different from being arrogant. Self-esteem is believing in who you are, what you can do, your capability, your ability, what you can bring out to the world. So self-esteem has nothing to do with your arrogance. So as we keep sharing, as we keep interacting, so I expect you people to be giving in your comments. That could be my own definition of self-esteem. So feel free to drop in your comments, tell us what you feel, what you know, what self-esteem defines, what you think self-esteem is, and it's going to be an interactive chat. So to go on, I think I'll have to share my insights, why I think as a person, and speaking from experience, why I think that self-esteem is so important, especially with the young girls or the youth or even our elders, be it in your work area, in your career, in your families, in your personal relationships. I think when I say I think, it looks like I'm doubting, but I believe that self-esteem is so important in our daily lives. First of all, personally speaking from experience, having the inner belief in who you are or having self-confidence, to me, it is one of the top key to self-success. In this world, the daily lives we live on a daily basis, everything begins with a thought. And everything we do in our homes, in our careers, in our peers, personal relationships, or whatever we do on a daily basis begins with a thought. It all depends on about one's state of mind. So why do I connect? If you are optimistic about life, if you are optimistic about different things in life, then if we say that everything we do depends on one state of mind, the first success that you can encounter is being positive, believing that something is possible, believing in the ability of something, believing that you are capable, believing that you are unstoppable, believing that everything is possible. Yes, sometimes things do not get straight away done just like we plan them, or I can say that the set destination to everything that we plan in life is not always straight. But again, if you are positive, if you have the inner belief in you, the first step to succeed in something is to believe. It is to have personal belief that something is capable. There is one quote I like from Napoleon Hill, where he says that whatever a mind of a man can believe and conceive, it can achieve. So clearly, the first step to succeed is believing that something is capable. So I'm going to link the power of optimism to self-esteem, simply because you cannot have self-esteem if you are always negative, if you always believe in that things are not able, that things, the world is full of negative things. So if you keep dwelling on the inability and impossibility rather than the possibilities and the capabilities, then totally that is failure. So to me, I even don't believe in failure, because I think that in life we learn. Whatever happens, whatever we do, you may not succeed at a certain thing, but that doesn't mean that you have failed, because not succeeding at a particular thing, that means that next time when you want to give it a try, then you will have to learn from the stumbling blocks that stopped you from achieving that. And self-esteem is not about perfection. Self-esteem is about capability, ability, and being positive. So once you can believe that everything is possible, for me, whatever, before, if I can share a personal story, before I joined the contest of Miss Rwanda, I had I come from a very big family of boys and friends. My friends are bullies. Everybody told me like, hey, you are not even the most beautiful in the family, and you just want to go out, expose yourself. And so at the end of the day, our friends are going to be mocking us because you're just going to be a failure. But one thing I can attest to that enabled me to even walk away with the most prestigious crown is I believed I could, and I did. So the first win was self-belief, was believing that I could. I gave it a try, regardless of the bullies around, friends, family, brothers. If you are following, I am sure you know what I'm talking about. If you're my friend, if we went to the same school, I am sure that you know one of the things that keeps me moving in life is self-esteem. I do not wait to get validated. I do not do things to seek validation, to please somebody, to fit in a certain society. And by the way, believing in yourself or having confidence in yourself, or to stop seeking validation and be the authentic you, it doesn't mean that you're going to shy away, or you're going to not to take it to society norms. There is taking it to society norms. There is believing in what is socially accepted. And again, there is not seeking validation from society by being the authentic you. So apart from self-esteem enabling us to succeed in whatever we do on a daily basis. So I just want to check whoever is online, the comments that you are bringing in. So apart from self-esteem enabling us or driving us to success, I think the second thing self-esteem helps us to do is to be our authentic selves. I mean, you cannot live your entire life faking somebody that you are not. On a daily basis, if you have to wake up in the morning and go to work, or in your peers or at home, and fake the personality, the person that you're supposed to be, then I think it's huge. I think it's too much work to handle. So the good thing with having self-esteem, or believing in who you are, or having confidence about who you are, knowing that you are capable at some things, knowing that you have limitations, there are things that you cannot do, then it eases life, it eases the being, because you are authentically yourself. So it's okay, you can keep commenting, you can keep sending questions. I also want to switch. I just want to see whoever is online, to see if I can see your comments, the people that are online right now. Why do I have to watch myself and I'm shouting? So, well, I mean, I'm just new to this, to the live Instagram sessions, and I believe that. Can you hear the noise? Oh, all right, fine. So I was moving into my third point. Apart from saying that having a health self-esteem or having a high self-esteem is rule number one to success, then I can say point number two is having a high self-esteem enables us to be our authentic selves, to be ourselves, to be the true versions of who we are, not having to pretend to be somebody else, not having to seek validation from people, not taking it to society demands, to society expectations, to what people. I think I say that so many times that whoever surrounds me or whoever knows me, at least I can say I have said that so many times that you're who you are because it's who you are, not because somebody else has to approve that. you should you should always, well, take it to society norms, but again, do not get distracted by people's expectations. Do not get distracted by what an individual. And by the way, being your authentic self, if I can speak, this happens especially with the young girls and young people, both boys and girls, because whenever sometimes if you do not have the inner belief in who you are or self-confidence for who you are, you tend to, when I was still in high school, we had a few things or a few groups of people who were considered as as the coolest group of the school. Those could be, then, for you to fit into a certain group of people, for you to fit into the coolest group of people at school, then if people were taking marijuana or people were taking alcohol, then if people were putting on their shorts or trousers thugging, then you also had to do the same to fit into a certain category of people. And at the end of it all, you find people losing who they are, you find people losing themselves, and that is lack of confidence, that is lack of purpose, that is lack of, you don't know your purpose in life, you do not know what you want to be, you do not know what you have to be. So I can say, most of the times when you do not have self-esteem, when you do not believe in yourself, when you do not have self-affirmation or self-assurance, sometimes you tend to fall into even unwanted behaviors simply because you are blown away by any blowing wind, because you want to fit into a certain category of people, because you want to be appreciated by certain people of a certain age. Or and in life we all have different affirmations, we all have different convictions, we all have different goals, we are all not meant to serve the same purpose. You are born for a certain purpose. I am born for a certain purpose. Somebody else is born to serve a certain purpose. So if you stop being the authentic you and lose self-esteem and lose self-affirmation and lose confidence, then you will end up losing who you are. And the worst you can ever be in life is losing the authentic I mean, there is only one Jolly in this world. There cannot be two MTN companies. MTN is MTN. I mean, you're not going to have a duplicate of MTN. So we all are meant to be ourselves. We all are meant to be who we are. So apart from self-esteem helping us to be successful, helping us to know what we want, then point number two is having a health self-esteem. We were talking about it helps us being the authentic us, living our lives to serve the purpose that we are meant to serve, not to be blown away by any blowing wind, or not to seek validation, to be appreciated by certain category of people. Like I gave you an example of how at school we always had the coolest gang of the school, and whenever somebody wanted to fit into that category, then if the girls were doing makeup, even if you are not a makeup person, people tended to do makeup just to fit into a certain group of people. So you are losing the authentic you. to the boys to fit into the cool gang of the school, then maybe you had to put on thugging trousers, and typically you're losing yourself. But if you are sure, if you have self-assurance, if you have self-affirmation, then if you have self-esteem, we define self-esteem by all that, you cannot lose the authentic you. And point number 3, something I think self-esteem boosts is we live a realistic world than living an ideal, just ideally, basing on ideas. You live realistically. When you have a high self-esteem, one, you learn to agree to disagree with people. You know what you can do and you know what you can't. You are very sure that you cannot always be perfect. You learn to agree to disagree with people. It helps you to keep relationships with other people, because if we all have different affirmations, if we all have different convictions, then it is easy for me to understand that as much as I am so confident to what I believe in, so does somebody else. We have somebody else that has or is so confident about their own beliefs. So it is two-way, it's not one way. So if you have a high self-esteem, you are broad-minded, you are open-minded, you are open to criticism, you are open to taking in what other people recommend, because now you believe that as much strong conviction you have in your own beliefs, so does somebody else who is XYZ. So you just learn how to find a common ground and live with people in harmony. So to me, I think if you have a high self-esteem, and by the way, I'm speaking from experience, because once you get exposed, there are pros and cons of exposure. That is for a fact. So if you do not have high self-esteem, you cannot stand criticism, because there are people who appreciate you. There are people who think you stand for certain values. There are people who understand what you do. But again, on the other hand, there are people who do not understand what you do. There are people who do not believe you aren't even supposed to take the crown, because that is speaking from experience. Generally, if you are 100 women, or if you are 200 women in the contest, all looking for the most prestigious crown, and you happen to walk away with that crown, then that means every girl who registered to come to the contest also had the inner belief that they will succeed. So if you take the crown, that means 100 women have their fans, 100 women have their families, 100 women have people who appreciated them. So if you do not have self-esteem, or you do not believe in yourself, then the journey gets really tougher, and especially at a very young age. So that is why I think that it is so important for everybody in our different categories, in the offices that we serve, in our careers, in our families, at school, wherever you are. It is so important for you to believe in yourself, to define who you are, and let not other people define who you should be. And with that, it helps you to live a realistic world. It is okay for you not to be a good singer, but you can be maybe a good actress. You cannot be a Miss Rwanda. We are all not meant to be Miss Rwandas. But maybe you can be good at rugby. Maybe you can be good at high jump. You can be good at running, athletics, music, something else. I mean, we are all meant to serve different things. So before I even go any further, I can answer Vincent Karuhanga, who says that you want to know about gender equality roles. So for me, in my own opinion, I stand to be corrected. I think gender equality is about to advocate for both women, for equality, inclusiveness. So it's not about having one gender above the other. It's about inclusiveness. So gender equality roles is to advocate for equality between for both men and women, or girls and boys. If girls are supposed to be given if girls are supposed to be given quality education, so does boys and girls. If we are supposed to, basically, it's about equality. So somebody else, Olivia Mutoni, said, I am your number one fan and I really love your advices. All the best, Jolly. Thank you, Olivia. Then Agaba Julia says that what does Rwanda's liberation mean to you, Jolly? So liberation itself is a process. It is a process, and with time, it takes time. You cannot liberate yourself. There was time to liberate ourselves from the genocide ideology. There is time to liberate ourselves from poverty. There was a time of liberating ourselves to have economic standards. So to me, Liberation Day, especially today, I think even delivered a certain message to the young people. This day means is much more for us, the young people, even than the young generation, than the old people, because it is for us to reflect on, challenge ourselves, and see what we can do to carry on the mantle. Because, like I said, the sacrifice is really cheaper than what it's at a very cheap cost. We have a nation, we have everything. So I believe that we only have to learn on what we can do better to even have just a better Rwanda. So moving in maybe to, I'm going to share with you one thing that I think really brings about low self-esteem or lack of confidence. Measuring your self-worth from other people. I say this so many times that we should always stop measuring your self-worth from other people's opinions. Somebody else cannot determine what you're capable and not capable of doing. So it is always good to make sure that stop measuring your self-worth from other people's standards. And that is one thing that really brings about low self-esteem. Once you start measuring your success by other people's success, when you start looking at what other people have failed to do and you think because somebody else has failed to do something that you are also not going to be capable, then you just live a life of not being sure on what to do, and you end up losing focus, you end up losing purpose. So to me, if you can also keep giving in your comments and tell us what you think brings about low self-esteem. My number one thing that I think brings about low self-esteem is it is just always measuring up your self-worth from other people's standards, from other people's opinions, taking it that much to society norms than being about you. So that is one thing I could share about what brings about low self-esteem. And before I even go to how we can build our self-esteem, still talking about the importance of having a high self-esteem, it enables us to know our value and worth in life. If you believe in yourself, if you have self-assurance, if you have self-affirmation, if you are sure of your convictions, if you are sure about your purpose, then it instills in you your value and worth. You do not settle for less. You cannot settle for less. Once you know what you're capable of doing, then it helps us to have that inner drive to succeed, that deep drive to succeed. So self-esteem, or having a high self-esteem, just enables us to have to know our value, to know our worth. And especially I always say this in my peers, in people, in my friends, that I have been privileged to work on different projects that relates to women empowerment, and I have always said that your worth, your value, especially to young girls, is not worth to any price. If you know your value, if you know your worth, then nobody is going to equate it to any price. I have shared a personal story. I have had a chat with different young women who have dropped out of school due to unwanted pregnancies, and when you get to interact with these people, they happen to tell you that somebody tells you that from home I was always grounded, and whenever I wanted to go out, I had a boyfriend who always took me to the restaurant, and I really enjoyed going out for lunch, going out for dinner, going out for dates, and this is how I ended up just contracting or having unwanted pregnancy, hence the school dropout. And what the message that I give to these people is telling them that, yes, really, that means you just got pregnant and the entire life got clashed down just because you wanted to go out for a lunch, or you wanted to go out for dinner, or you just wanted to have a date for one day that you can pay 3,000, 4,000, 1,500. So your value has been equated to dinner or lunch of 3,000. So if you have self-esteem, you are sure of your value and your worth. You do not settle for less. You cannot be blown away by any blowing wind, because you are sure, as in you have self-assurance that your value, your worth is not equivalent to any price, is not equal to any price. There is no price tag to your value, to your worth. Once you have a high self-esteem, once you are sure of what you want to be, once you are sure of who you are, once you have a clear, defined goal or purpose in life, self-assurance, self-esteem teaches us to know our values and worth. So to wrap up today's live chat conversation, we started by defining what is meant by self-esteem. How can we define self-esteem? And we define self-esteem as self-assurance, self-affirmation, self-belief, and having confidence in your own abilities and skills. Then we took a deep dive into the importance of self-esteem, whereby we say that self-esteem helps us to brings clarity in decision making, helps us to be the authentic self. We say that self-esteem also enables us to live with other people in harmony. Self-esteem also helps us to in decision making. So I can wrap a few things. I think we talked quite a bit of around 6 points, but those are about 3 or 4 points. Then we also talked about how we can develop self-esteem by looking for something that you love doing, then direct all your energy towards it, and there goes your success. So thank you all for tuning in for today's session. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
What?
Yo, man.
This is big.
We're going big.
Like big.
Yeah. Big.
MTN Euro yatubereye very big. Ubu duhabwa 4G y'ibihumbi 6 y'ukwezi. MTN tuza bundles zirangira ari uko ukoresheje megabyte zawe, inyongera ya 3G, ibyiza byinshi ku bakiriya ba Yolo bimena bitwa Yolo Stars. Igabanyirizwa n'impano nyinshi, nta yindi simukadi ukeneye uretse simu isumba zose. Kanda akanyenyeri 154 urwego. Go big, go yellow, be great. Woo!
Everywhere you go, MTN.